The shocking arrival of French forces in Ghana, ladies and gentlemen, in a surprising turn of events, Ghana has invited the French military to train its army. Yes, to train its army specifically, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what?
Gunshots ringing out at the jungle village inside the jungle warfare school as Ghanaian soldiers undergo specialized training.
Situation. So, in a real combat situation, when I get shot at short range in a jungle environment, the first thing I'm going to do because
The exercise is being conducted in partnership with the French military, who have joined the Ghana army in the jungle for weeks of intensive training.
This move has actually sent shockwaves through the region, especially among those who feel that it goes against the interest of the African Economic Summit, for short, AES. Ladies and gentlemen, the French forces arrived for a 4-week training program, yes, aimed at helping Ghana's military tackle the growing issue of illegal gold mining in its jungles, ladies and gentlemen.
It's been very interesting. We showed our way to the Ghanaian, but the most interesting part was learning how they do it, and I think we learned a lot from those 3-week course.
What are some of the things that you learned from the Ghanaians and what the Ghanaians also learned from you?
Well, we learned a lot about jungle survival. They are very strong in this area.
The Ghanaian soldiers say the French doctrine is not very different from what they are already used to, but acknowledge they have picked up new skills that will help them more effectively.
Although our doctrine is not far from them, but we are also taking something out of what we are learning so far.
Describe what you have learned that you were not used to as a military officer in Ghana.
Okay, tactically, what I will say is it is not different from ours, but at least we've learned something small.
As a soldier, when we are going for a war or operation like this, normally we may have an injured person among us. So now they have taught us how to provide improvised structure, which are very good. That one I've learned it a lot.
Ghana's decision to collaborate with France for this training comes as a shock, considering the recent trend in West Africa, where many nations or countries have actually been pushing out French military forces. Okay, this collaboration is actually rooted in a history of Ghana's long-standing relationship with France, particularly in the areas of economy, energy, and of course cultural exchange. The French connection is also seen in the founding of institutions like the Alliance Francaise, which promotes French culture in Ghana, ladies and gentlemen. However, this recent military cooperation has raised eyebrows, ladies and gentlemen, especially after other Sahel states or countries took the dramatic step of expelling French troops from their territories. Now, the question is very simple. What could have actually led Ghana to this bold step? Why would they go against the grain and, of course, engage with France, especially when it seems like the continent was actually moving away from French military presence? The reasons behind this decision, ladies and gentlemen, are more complex than they seem.
The program focuses on 4 key areas designed to strengthen the fight against illegal mining. France was selected for this exchange program because of its experience tackling illegal mining in French Guyana, one of its overseas territories.
A bit slower, but with more.
The African Economic Summit, for short AES, okay, a key body that represents some African states or countries, has expressed strong disappointment at Ghana's move, ladies and gentlemen. For years, AES has promoted African unity and, of course, independence, okay, from former colonial powers or forces, okay. The idea of foreign military presence in African states or countries, especially after the expulsion of French troops from, countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, etc., has been a highly contentious issue, ladies and gentlemen. For the AES, Ghana's decision to invite French forces for training signals a major shift, okay, or change in its foreign policy.
Have been training, exchanging ideas, and focusing on how to shoot with precision, how to apply first aid, and also how to even arrest people, particularly illegal miners.
AES members, ladies and gentlemen, particularly those from the Sahel region, will view the French military as a symbol of neocolonialism. Yes, neocolonialism. They argued that foreign troops in Africa have often done more harm than good, ladies and gentlemen, perpetuating a cycle of dependency rather than self-sufficiency. Ghana's government, led by John Dramani Mahama, has a history of relying on the Western security providers for support, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a significant part of Ghana's foreign policy. And the invitation of French troops is in line with this long-standing practice, ladies and gentlemen. However, the question remains, why now? Why invite French military assistance, when the continent is moving in a direction of rejecting foreign intervention? Now, ladies and gentlemen, in a few seconds, we will actually examine how, France's experience in French Guiana's plays into the decision to offer this particular training, and why Ghana believes that French expertise could actually be crucial or very essential in dealing with illegal gold mining. Ghana's decision to partner with France, ladies and gentlemen, particularly for military training on tackling illegal gold miners in their jungles, is not actually without reason. France has extensive experience in dealing with similar challenges in French, Guyana, where illegal mining is also a significant issue. This expertise, ladies and gentlemen, particularly in the dense jungles or forests of French Guyana, was a key factor in Ghana's decision to turn to France for help. The French military has developed strategies for navigating difficult terrain and, of course, managing illegal mining activities. This experience is, invaluable for Ghana, ladies and gentlemen, where illegal mining in remote areas, has led to environmental damage, loss of revenue, and, of course, even violent conflict. Ghanaian military personnel believe that French military instructors can actually provide the training needed to effectively combat these illegal operations and, of course, restore order in the affected areas. However, for many, ladies and gentlemen, this move still feels like a betrayal. Ghana's dependent ties with France, especially in military matters, goes against the growing sentiments in Africa that foreign military presence should be reduced. Many believe that Africa must build its own capacity to handle internal conflict and, of course, challenges without relying on former colonial powers or forces. If you're actually finding this particular video very interesting, please make sure that you're going to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, most importantly, so that you can actually stay updated always for analytical videos like this. Ghana's decision to work with France, ladies and gentlemen, has a broader implications for its foreign policy and the future of African independence or sovereignty. Whilst some argue that this military collaboration or cooperation could help solve immediate or instant security challenges, others fear it sets a dangerous or risky precedent for the reset of Africa. The AES and other African states or countries are watching closely to see if Ghana's decision will actually influence other countries to invite foreign military forces into their borders. As the continent grapples with the need for security and, of course, the desire for autonomy, ladies and gentlemen, Ghana's partnership with France serves as a reminder of the complexities, involved in balancing national interest with regional unity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the question is very simple. Will other states, follow Ghana's lead, or will they resist the temptation to rely on former colonial powers for military support? This particular analytical story, is far from over, and it will continue to monitor the situation as it unfolds. Thank you so much for watching it, and remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed on the latest development. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more updates on this important issue.